Today I am going to speak on two technical indicators for stock market operations. One is called momentum. The other is called Bollinger band. Standalone, these two indicators have significant implications with respect to stock market timing. For example, when to buy, when to sell. But the reason for my taking these two indicators up simultaneously is I intend to follow this up with another discussion on pairs trading, which is an arbitrage trading strategy. Now, we'll focus in this session on these two indicators, their definition and how to interpret these two technical indicators. Now, momentum is defined as the price of the stock in period T minus the price of the stock in some period T minus X multiplied by 100. Suppose we take T to be today and T minus X to be 10 days back, then that would mean this would be PT and this would be PT minus 10 into 100. So, momentum is nothing but a delta change in price. What is interesting in this particular technical indicator is that it is the movement of momentum that we are going to observe. Now, what does it mean, movement of momentum? Basically, we are looking at movement of the delta. So, if momentum is rising, which means delta is rising, that means delta of delta is positive, which means delta square is positive, which basically means that the second partial is positive, which means that the original price is increasing at an increasing rate, or is multiplied by 100, so in that case momentum would be above 100. If prices are falling and if delta square is there also positive, is negative, which means it's falling, actually we should take the absolute thing, it's okay. It would mean that prices are decreasing at an increasing rate, that they're falling very fast. What we generally say is that when the momentum line is about to cross the 100 line from below, that's a nice time to buy. And when it is about to cross 100 from above, it is a nice time to sell, or a good time to sell. However, we'll look at some specific examples and try to see what they actually mean in terms of specific stocks. That's the first indicator that we will discuss. The second indicator, Bollinger band, is slightly more detailed in nature. It goes like this, the definition goes like this. It basically says that if I take a time series of a price line, then what the Bollinger band does is that it takes a 20-day moving average of this price line and then it takes a plus minus 2 times the standard deviation and constructs a upper band and a lower band. And there is also the 20-day moving average somewhere in there. There are various implications of this Bollinger band. The way to look at it would be that when we will observe also that when prices are rising and it touches the Bollinger band, the upper band, there is a tendency for prices to fall, the stock prices to fall. And when the stock price hits the lower bound, there is a tendency for stock prices to rise. That is the part we use for timing. The other part is that when there are times we will see when the Bollinger band narrows and when the Bollinger band widens. Now the Bollinger band narrowing means the standard deviation is decreasing. This implication of this is that the market is consolidating and it will take action right after this. And it may be observed that when the market price is falling and the Bollinger Band narrows, after that prices tend to rise. And when prices are rising and the Bollinger Band narrows, there is a tendency for prices to fall. So this acts as a upper bound and this acts as a lower bound. Further, we will observe that generally in applied financial research, we generally say that stock prices, the volatility of stock prices are not always the same, and hence generalized least squares like Garch etc. are used. We will observe from the diagram that it is indeed so, because we will see that the Bollinger Band at times widens, at times narrows over a different. Hence, volatility of prices does not remain constant throughout. We will now turn to a demonstration of the two technical indicators discussed, which is momentum and Bollinger Band, with the help of actual stocks that are traded in the market. We will use meta stock for our demonstration purposes. We will go and choose a stock that is traded in the Indian markets, and we choose, say, Hindalco Industries for our demonstration. Now, we have observed in the past that we can actually increase the time frame of our discussion by using the signs below. Let us now choose the indicator momentum. Let us see the behavior of momentum for this company. We will open momentum in a different window, and this is how momentum has behaved for the time series that has been given below here of the actual stock prices. Notice first that the momentum line moves up and down the 100 line, because as we have discussed in the past, momentum is defined as price today minus price x days into 100. Now observe that when momentum is rising, which means the second partial is positive, it is a delta of delta, because momentum by itself is a delta, then prices would be rising at a faster rate. And when momentum is negative and falling, prices are really falling at a faster rate. So, from the stock selection point of view, it's a relative position. From the stock selection point of view, if I find momentum to be rising, okay, it means that relative to this period as compared to 14 days before, the change in prices, which is basically the change in close prices, has been positive. And when price falls at a very fast rate, momentum tends to be negative. The recommendation to traders is that when momentum is negative, that is below 100, and is rising, to catch the stock at that point to exploit the upside. Remember one thing, that when the momentum rises, it basically means that prices are increasing at an increasing rate, and this rate generally cannot be sustained for a longer period. And hence, the moment momentum starts rising, one should be careful that prices are going to fall after that. So, there is no point in entering a stock whose momentum has reached this space, because after that prices are going to fall. This kind of momentum increase cannot be sustained over a period of time. It is like, if you are running and you gradually increase your speed, and if you start increasing your speed of running, you tend to get exhausted very fast and you slow down. This is exactly what happens with momentum. So what I generally do is that whenever I am trying to enter or exit a stock, besides other technical indicators which some of I have discussed in the past like MACD, some like Bollinger Band which I will discuss also, I also take a look at the movement in momentum of the stock. Even if all other indicators give me a buy signal, if momentum I see has increased significantly, I stay away from the market. On the other hand, an ideal position to buy a stock is over here when it is negative and momentum is rising. This is all about momentum. I will now move to the second technical indicator, which is a little involved, as I say, which is the Bollinger Band. So we'll from the indicator list, we will go and look at Bollinger Band, and Bollinger Band we will superimpose on the chart. It's a 20-day time period in the sense that, as I mentioned in the past, the black ticks are the original price movement. The middle red line is the 20-day moving average of the black line, and the upper band and the lower band are the plus minus 2 sigma lines. Now, observe that when the actual series moves along the lower bound, it bounces back, and when it moves up and touches the upper bound, it has a tendency to fall. In this entire movement, you will observe that the actual 20-degree moving average acts as a support to it. Then it hits, comes down, travels along the lower bound, bounces back, and always you will find it moving up and down between the upper band and the lower band. So the upper band and the lower band, the upper band acts as a ceiling, the lower band acts as a floor to the entire movement. Then I had discussed about the narrowing of the band. If you observe that in a downswing gradually, when it narrows, it bounces back. In an upswing, when it narrows, it kind of moves down. So there is an abrupt reversal in movement of prices depending upon which direction the actual prices were moving. If the price is moving down and it narrows, prices will rise. If the prices are moving up and the band narrows, prices are going to fall after that. It kind of happens with kind of regularity. So what you can say is that there are various ways of looking at the Bollinger Band. First, whether the price is hitting the ceiling. If it is close to the ceiling, let it fall, then you buy. If it is hitting sell. When it is hitting about to hit the floor, it's a nice time to buy. But one thing remember, when the actual price line goes below the lower bound or above the upper bound, it is an indication for the trend to continue. That in order to know whether the trend will continue, we try to see whether the actual price line has crossed the upper or the lower bound. Let us take another example. Let us take movement in another stock. Let us look at Kotak Mahindra Bank. Let us use both the indicators simultaneously now. We use the Bollinger Band here. See the same story. When prices are rising, upper bound, prices are falling, lower bound. So, when suppose over here, when prices started falling, cross the 20-degree line, a 20-day moving average line, and fell, if one had purchased at that point, there was a gain to be made. When prices hit the upper band and you see it has crossed, the trend continues, and this is a nice time to sell because after that prices fell. Again, when prices decreased and hit the lower bound, nice time to buy. So you will find prices moving between the upper band and the lower band, and there is a significant opportunity to make money in the process. Compound this technical indicator with the momentum indicator. as I had said, that when the momentum is become below 100 and has started rising, that is a nice time to buy. And see, compared to this, it has also touched the lower bound. After that, if someone had purchased, there would be, one could have made some money in the process. When the momentum is rising, which means prices are increasing at an increasing rate, it touches the upper bound in the Bollinger Band, and if one sells at that point of time, then one can save oneself from the decrease in prices later on. Or if one is shorting the stock, one can actually short it, although this is not an intraday trading indicator, and hence shorting is permitted only in intraday in India. So for intraday I will not prescribe this. So one can look at the momentum and the Bollinger Band together and figure out that if the momentum is rising, whether the Bollinger Band has been hit in the upper bound. If so, don't buy now or sell. When the momentum is falling and prices are falling and touching the lower band, advisable buy, then you can encash on the upswing in prices. So in a different session, I am going to combine these two indicators in order to discuss about pairs trading, how they can be applied to make profit out of this arbitrage trading strategy. Thank you.